Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. This is Danny Barker. I'm with eXp Realty in San Diego, California, and I help veterans with the strategizing on buying homes with their VA loan and building wealth over time. So today I wanted to discuss the fact that buyers decide how much houses are worth. It's not the appraiser who comes out and does all the math and has that highly trained skill of using comparables and putting a price per square foot, maybe putting some extras for location and the pool and the yard being nice and all of that. Of course, those things are important. However, the appraiser works for the lender, right? And the only reason that you're having an appraisal is because somebody is giving you a very significant amount of money for you to borrow in order to buy this place. And if you end up not liking the place, you have to sell it. And if the appraisal doesn't happen, or if the appraisal is too high and the day comes for you to sell it too fast, too soon, they'll end up losing money. So that's the appraiser. The appraiser works for the bank. Don't worry about what he says. He's got their interest at heart, which indirectly has your interest at heart. Now let's talk about who decides how much the house is worth, right? It's the buyer. It's always the buyer. And it's not any one buyer. It's not just every buyer. You can't just pluck somebody off the street and say, "Hey, you in the market to buy a 3 bedroom? Yeah, how about that one for 400,000?" No. So that guy says that house is not worth $400,000 to him, right? That's where I want to get this into play for you. So when you're out there shopping around as a buyer, or you're a seller that's trying to figure out what price do I put my house on the market on, I'll let you in to what I do when I'm speaking with my sellers about what it is that we expect and how can we price this to the public to control the narrative and get what we want from it. All right, so here I have a really good example. I'm about to close escrow on a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom in Escondido, California, and I think the price that we're at is $313,000. It's good for you to remember that, 313,000 with no credits back to the buyer. They didn't need it. So this effectively, the house has proven to be worth $313,000 in this sale. But here's the thing. Previously, a couple of months ago, I put the house on the market at $290,000, and we got multiple offers, 5 to be exact. And those 5 were between 295 and 325. Unfortunately, at that time, a few months ago, my seller wasn't ready to swallow that because the 325 was asking for 10,000 back. So that's really a 315. But the 320 was only asking 5,000 back. So that's a 315. So I feel like the seller identified with the strategy that I put forward that the house was worth 315,000. Well, he wasn't happy with it. Christmas was coming, so we pulled the house off the market and put it on hold. And we came back to the market at 345,000, and then we did what we would have done if we would have originally went to 345,000. Well, it ticked down. 339, 334, 329, and then finally we got a showing and the guys came in at 313,000, which is 2,000 less than we would have gotten a few months ago. But the seller felt a lot better about it, which proves my point that this house is worth 315 to 315,000. Now, what's interesting is that the buyers in the first approach, they were coming at me like, "Whoa, why is this so low?" The last one that sold at 290,000 was a tiny little 400 square foot studio. And I said, "Well, that's exactly why. I know that one sold at 290,000. I know that a few other units had sold at 320, 325. I know that the interest rates were higher. I know that the other 3 units that sold at the 320 and 325, and maybe even 345, I want to say, they all had washer and dryer in the units." I asked my buyer, or my seller, I'm sorry, I asked my seller, "Do you want to add washer and dryer while we take this break? I think you'll get more than it'll cost you in the back end." He said no, he just wanted to keep it simple. And there we go. We went back to the market at a high price and got 313. So if that's not really the perfect proof, I know it could be anecdotal, However, I put a lot of time and love and energy into each one of those approaches. And I thought, man, it's not very often that we get to sell the same house twice with two different pricing strategies. Well, in this case, this client afforded me the opportunity to do just that, right? And really, the buyer's not meeting the seller's expectations because the seller really did want 340. So the buyer's not meeting the seller's expectations is what led to us proving the point that the buyers decide how much properties are worth. Now, what do you think the appraiser thought when he came in to appraise it at 313 when he sees these other one bedroom units? Yeah, they have a washer and dryer, but it costs you about $5,000 to add the washer and dryer. At 330, 325, 340, right? It was an easy stroke of the pen for him. He didn't have to do a whole lot of maths. He's just there to cover the bases for the bank, right? He doesn't care to tell the buyer, hey, man, I think you should have paid more, right? Sometimes we get that lucky. I bought one for 351 that the appraiser, I think he had something against me, but he put it at 427. And you ask, why would the appraiser appraising it for higher than you're buying it for be a symptom of him having something against you, Danny? Well, I'll tell you why. I'm sure that he knows that the sellers want to see the appraisal. But what everybody in my case didn't know is that I was savvy enough to say, hey, that appraisal belongs to me. I paid for it. It doesn't belong to the title company to share that information. It doesn't belong to the escrow company to share that information. It doesn't belong to the real estate agents to share that information without my permission. So I called every single professional and sent an email to every one of them just in case to remind them that there's $75,000 discrepancy here. And if the seller is to find out about it and it ruins my deal, I will have a case to make against the person who alerted the seller of this fact, right? So that's how that one went. But my point is that would I have paid $427? Probably not. I was willing to pay $350, $351, $500 actually, because I knew that the roof was leaking and I had to keep chasing those leaks. I knew that the air conditioners were just being poked and prodded along and not really replaced when they should have been replaced. So I knew I had a bunch of stuff that I was going to have to spend money on right when I took possession of the property. And I said, you know what? I've got to protect this position. So let's back it up. In the seller's meeting with me, I come in and I say, hey, look, the last time something like your property went on the market was this time, this place, this address, and it went for this much money, right? That's not where we stop. Today, just like your property or very similar to it and very close to it, we have this many properties available. Their asking prices are X, Y, and Z. So we have 3 that sold A, B, C, and we have 3 that are on the market X, Y, and Z. Now we have to worry about positioning ourselves. So let's go look at these 3 houses and we go look at them, whether it's just look at the pictures online or if you want to go the extra step with me, I'm more than willing to go walk those properties with you. As a matter of fact, if I've known for a while that you were going to sell, I probably already walked those properties. Now, I'm going into the meeting prepared to not only get you the most money possible, but also position your listing in a way that you get as many showings as possible. Now, why do I prioritize showings over offers, right? Is because I can jump to the end and say, I'll expect to get this many offers if I price it at this. I'll expect to get that many offers if I price it with that. But let's go into the science of it. Let's get into the mathematics of it, right? How many offers do you get from how many showings did you have, right? So now we want to position ourselves to where we're priced at a good price, that we have as many showings as possible, because no matter what that ratio is, whether it's 3 showings to 1 offer or 7 showings to 1 offer or 11 showings to 1 offer, it does matter because it's going to take us time to get that amount of showings. So just for the sake of conversation, let's say it's 7 showings. I can call the other agents and say, hey, I've got a buyer interested. Do you have anybody else interested? blah, 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 have a conversation and eventually get it out of them as to what kind of activity did they have? How many offers have they gotten, right? And if they've had 7, 10, 11 showings and no offers, then I want to start thinking, is there something wrong with the house when you visit it, right? Now I go back to the seller and I say, okay, this is what I found. And we found it together if you were right there with me, right? So we found all of this information together and we're really trying to position ourselves to get as many showings as possible, right? How do you do that? If you have a condo that people will buy for $315,000 and you price it at $290,000, I know that I got 22 showings. I know that I got 5 offers, right? Then you fast forward to the same house at $345,000. I called back every single one of the people that made the offer, every single one of the people that made the showings and said, hey, come back to this place to revisit it. All of them were out because they were already all the way out or they had already made their best offer at $315,000. So I gathered all that information. I said, hey, here's the thing. We're going to have to just sit on the market and lower the price little bit by little bit by little bit until we get an offer that we can work with, right? So what happened? We got a showing, no showings at 345. We got a showing at 390 at 339. We got 2 showings at 334 or 329 actually. No, 334. And then we got one more showing at 329. So 1, 2, and then 1. So we got 4 showings and we got that offer. They originally offered $295,000, but we were able to get them to come up to what it was really worth at $313,000. So with that being said, I want you to understand that no matter what market conditions we're in, we have sellers listing houses for what they want to sell it for, right? And in my case, my client said that he trusted me and wanted to go with my preferred way forward, which is let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's put the house at a low price. Let's get a ton of offers in a short period of time. Let's make people excited about it. Let's leverage their activity against each other. Or we can price it right, get 4 showings and get an offer and take the offer and make it work the best. Or we can start at the top and just keep working our price down so that you feel comfortable and confident that that was the highest we were going to sell it for, which is most important to the seller. So get it through your heads, guys. When you're making an offer as a buyer, you have to beat every other buyer in order to win the property. If you're a seller and you're looking at pricing your property on the market, price it to incentivize the buyers to come look at your property. So let's get back into the part where it was 3 places that sold. Let's say that we're working on a house that the 3 places that sold are 725, 740, 745, right? And let's say that the 3 places that are on the market are asking 750, 755, and 775. If we come in and we price ours at 750,000, I do not expect it to do very well in this market. Because why? Because right now we're looking at the last 3 sales were under 750. The 3 properties that are on the market are over that 750 mark, right? So how are these sellers here even wondering who's going to sell next or how much are they going to sell it for? And they're bickering with each other over the dinner table for weeks and weeks and weeks about how did that one already go in escrow? How did a buyer go forward with that property and not ours? What's different about those properties? And then you start getting into a weird headspace. So the least amount of time that you spend in no man's land, which is the time that a seller puts their house on the market to the time that the seller has an acceptable offer in front of him, that's no man's land. The more time you spend in no man's land, the more obnoxious the whole procedure is going to be, the more resistant you're going to be when I call and say, hey, we got somebody, they're in the neighborhood, they didn't originally want to see your house, but they want to see your house. And you're thinking, the dogs, the cats, the floor, the vacuum, the sweep, the mop, the candles. Oh gosh, I just cooked a snack for the kids, or I just cooked dinner for the kids. Oh, the place smells like dinner. Oh, what are we going to do? That's no man's land. So if you want to avoid all that, just price it low. The buyers will bring it up. I promise you. And even in this market, I proved it just a few months ago that you priced it at 290, it came up to 315, right? And the seller tricked himself. At dinner, he was telling himself something along the lines of, I had 5 people make me offers at 290. If I could just get one person to make me an offer at 340, 345, I will get what I want from this. And he went with it. And of course, me being me, I'm like, hey, look, it's your asset. We're going to sell it the way you want to sell it. I can definitely set some expectations for you and help this no man's land feel better than it otherwise would without these expectations. But here's what you're going to expect. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope that this adds some value to you, to your approach. When you're a buyer, I want you to think about, how is the seller going to receive this? What are they asking? What is their asking price today? What was their asking price when they went on the market? How long ago was that? We can all do math. If they went on it at 775 and today they're at 750 and it's only been a month, and maybe we're looking at the 750 reduction was just done this week, I don't think that they want to entertain a 725 offer. Now, would I not put it in? Absolutely. I would 100% put in that offer at 725, but I do not expect, and I'll tell my buyer every time, hey, we don't expect this to get accepted. I'm putting it in because my fiduciary duty, and I'm going to fight like hell to get this property for you for 725. Let me see what I can do. Boom, right? So if you're looking for somebody to work with in your market, I manage a referral network that's across the United States. Don't worry, I don't charge you any money. I just charge them the money, and it's out of the money that you're going to pay whoever it is that you hired anyway. I promise you, my people aren't going to charge you more. They're not going to work for less. Neither are the people that you're already thinking about going into business with. Instead, just come to me. You'll gain me. You'll gain my expertise. I have the oversight. I have control of my network, and you will be working with the best performing realtor that I know in your market. So reach out to me today, 760-497-9964. Let's get you on my schedule and let's have a chat. All right, guys. Peace out.